So there are many factors. The color of the shirt you wear, these are things we take for granted. The color of the shirts you wear, the gown you wear, has a bearing, or the room within which you operate in, color blue or white and all that, have a bearing on negotiations and the outcome. These look very simple, but this is the truth. Every contribution here today, I'm very sure this commission will take it into very serious consideration. And lastly, I am an interested party to the health and education sector, which is one of the reasons why we're having this. If you go into a negotiation believing that the person on the other side is a fool, then we have a major problem. For the health sector, I have 5 children, 2 are medical doctors, 1 is a radiologist, 1 is a dietitian. All 3 were mentioned here today. I beg the last one not to go into health again, and they are going to. So would I now go to Salaries and Wages Commission and sit down and watch all of them fighting without preferring a solution? No, I will not. But like I tell the professionals in that sector, the tiger does not need to come out to shout, "I am a tiger." That's the principle of tigritude. I'm sure you all know that, Wole Soyinka. By your action, your natural leadership will speak for itself. If we do not have the downturn in the economy to affect the exchange rates, the intensity of what we are shouting here today and over the years would not have been as serious if the parity was what it should be, since we have decided to benchmark our own currencies with foreign currencies. So economy is part of it, and if we want to crack our economy, we've been spending time on compensation, but we have not also looked at what compensation means in Nigeria. It might be more than the remuneration that we're seeing. If you like, go and offer a professor in Harvard $1 million a month to come to your country. If he reads on the papers that he cannot move out of his house because the American government has issued a statement, that money is higher than what he's receiving in the US. He will not come. So it's beyond the remuneration package. So let's separate some of these things and see how we can refix those aspects and expand the definition of compensation in the Nigerian setting. Like you rightly said, it must be country specific. I'm saying this before questions come because I don't want questions to be based on sentiments to the extent that it will distort the very good outcomes that I have seen here since yesterday.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Well, please, we have just 2 minutes to round up. So, within 30 seconds, just so while our brother is getting ready, one other area, sir, we must strengthen the negotiation machinery, dispute resolution machinery. When people are negotiating, they hardly want to go to institutions that are established to manage this. Everybody wants to go and negotiate with Mr. President. We cannot continue in this country. No, sir. Both, I'm speaking from both sides of government and both sides of the union. The government must strengthen the negotiating machinery. It was when the minister referred this matter to National Industrial Court that people remember there is IAP. That you should have first of all gone to IAP. Then nobody was talking about that. We must strengthen all the structures that we have. Thank you, my brother. One.
Thank you, sir, for this opportunity.
Straight to the question.
Yes, appreciation and commendation to the chairman of National Salaries, Income and Wages Commission and the organizers of this program, Sustain. That is number one. Number two is to thank you for this opportunity. Three is that health is a critical sector. Health has multiple children, the nurses and others, plus the patient. So what we are talking is compensation. And the question is, whatever distribution that we are going to give compensation today, Nigerian nurses and midwives need to be adequately compensated in the health sector. Therefore, question side is, why does government always wait for workers to go on strike before they call them for negotiation? Sometimes, even after letters are sent repeatedly to 7 times, 8 to 10 times. That is the question. If we have a way to stop it, it will help us to move forward.
Thank you so much.
Then,
one question.
Okay, one question.
Thank you.
You are satisfied with
yes,
it?
Yes.
And you have also accepted that the nurses need to be adequately compensated with either separate salary or peculiarity allowance.
Yes.
Because they are living every day. Even today, people are signing and living.
Yes. I'm sure you will justify it.
Compensation, yeah, we will justify it. Parity.
Yes.
If you are not a nurse, you cannot be a nurse. And
No,
not everybody that wears white in the hospital that is a nurse.
Thank you so
much.
much.
Very well.
Thank you so
we
much.
Can justify why we need to take the best salary.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for this
opportunity. Thank you so much.
Because nurses care for each and every one of you. From birth to death.
Thank you so much.
Everybody here.
It's well taken.
Thank you so much.
We are not doubting it. We are not doubting it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm sure they will look into it. There is no profession in the health sector that is not important. So please, let's take things from the holistic perspective. And one other thing, I think each ministry, each sector must establish a negotiation machinery. What ILO preach is prevention at the workplace. Dispute is better prevented at the source. So each ministry must have a negotiating team to handle basic things before it goes out. Thank you, sir. One question.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I must commend the panelists first. This appears to be the most vibrant sessions I've witnessed since yesterday. This is so because the two sectors are social sectors. They are social service sector, education and health. I have issues with these two sectors. In education, for instance, the university is having so many unions. You don't have that in other countries of the world. Every profession wants to be unionized. They must have a voice. That is wrong. The university is a citadel of learning, not a place for unionizing. So there must be a way of pruning the number of the unions in our universities if we want learning to take place there. Secondly, the doctors in Nigeria are well trained and their training is subsidized. And it is unpatriotic for any one of them to after graduation say, I want to jump, I want to go to another country. It is unpatriotic. Who is well paid in Nigeria today? The chairman, Salaries and Wages Commission said, economy is part of it. The dollar has made nonsense of our naira. And because it is so, nobody's income is adequate. Even for those that are on consolidated salary, they still have to do one or two things to augment that. So as a matter of urgency, I am saying that at the end of this program, there must be a clear statement in our communique that salaries of workers in Nigeria, Nigerian public service, especially the civil service, across all the sectors, must be looked into. Harmonization is the way to go. Harmonization takes care of all the disparities. Salary structure, you see, we don't need all these salary structures. Let's go back to even the Udoji recommendation that gave back to Salaries and Wages Commission. He recommended unified salary structure. We should go back. We should address this issue of diversity in our salary structure. We cannot have an end to it if we continue to tolerate it.
Yeah.
So I am recommending, sir, that at the end of this workshop, we should have a communique that will address the urgency of increasing worker salaries. And this must happen before the new government comes.
Wow.
Because all these efforts we are putting up will not amount to anything. The new government will come and slow us down. They will need somebody to give them institutional memory of what had happened. And that will take another 3 years.
Thank you so much.
So I am suggesting also that after doing that, after recommending that salaries must be increased, harmonized across board, to take care of workers' interests, Salaries and Wages Commission should do the needful. It is empowered to carry out job evaluation for all sectors of the Nigerian public service.
Thank you.
It should engage the Office of the Head of Service, engage all the relevant agencies, and work on job standardization if need be. Evaluate what everybody is doing, and then recommend, as the chairman said, recommend salary structures, a unified salary structure, but the allowances can be sector specific.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think this is what I want to take out of your this contribution. One, we can have a unified salary and variation in allowances, peculiar to each sector. Because this idea of consolidated, I remember when we started Hatisa. You have the research allowance. If you are not a research officer in the institute, you don't collect. You have book allowance. You have this. So, but now everything is. So we must have a unified salary and possibly variation of allowance. Yes, my sister here. We are moving. We are moving. And as we go, I'm sure the rapporteurs are also noticing it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Time is not a question per se. I just want to give some advice that may possibly go into our communique. After listening to all the discussion this afternoon, they have done a very good job. But what I can infer is that we have disruptive leadership in Nigeria. There's something we call disruptive technology and computer science. And that is what our leaders are. We'd like to disrupt states. We started well. Somebody mentioned Udoji earlier. Our systems were going fine. All we needed to do is to be having a review, maybe on a yearly basis or biannually or something on 2 years basis. But we disrupt everything. We just say it just for selfish. So we need to go back to the basic to revamp. And then there's what we also call trust deficit. We don't trust ourselves. Look at the enumeration the chairman has made. Everything boiled down to distrust. We just felt these people are not okay, we cannot trust them, and then we were running the system the way we were. We left them out of tech fund. Everybody knew that tech fund was an offshoot of us. And it was doing well. When you get to so many universities, you see buildings, classrooms, lecture theatre, hostels, tech fund. Very beautiful. But now we don't even know what they are doing with tech fund. So I would advise that tech funds should be returned to the universities.
Thank you.
Then we have poor management system.
No, just one.
Bad leadership skill. Okay, sir. So my take home. The issue of economy that was mentioned earlier, the solution to it is agriculture.
diversification.
Yes, we need to diversify from oil.
Thank you.
Let every civil servant be allowed to go into agri and be given loan from any bank they are given to.
Thank you so much.
And then again, the hours of work in the office should be reduced to give civil servant time to go and have additional income. We cannot depend on government alone.
Thank you so much. Yeah, the last one, and as we are taking the last one, that's the lady. Where is it? Oh, she's not there again. Where, please? Yeah, please. As we are rounding up, let me emphasize. No, just last question, sir. I'm sorry. We will. No, please. You can. The next group when they come up, you can raise it. No, sorry. Yes, madam.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to sign on the existing protocol. Okay, sir. Here, my humble opinion after analyzing all the presentations so far at this famous gathering is how do we get food on our table with ease? So this leads us to the issue of purchasing power and how the government is going to put in place a very strict monitored price control mechanism that will affect every bit of goods and services that will be in the market, because at the end of the day, when you collect a salary, all of us go to the same market. Our children go to the same school. They come out to look for the same job. But what is our purchasing power like? Can the government please put some measures in place to boost our purchasing power? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think on behalf of everybody that has spoken, sorry sir, because of time, and we still have another group. You have all spoken well, sir. And one takeaway that we all agree is the fact that there is need for a holistic and integrated approach to compensation. We need to overhaul almost all the system. Secondly, there is need for trust and openness. Whether you are ASU, you are government, or you are employer, you need organization to survive first. If our organization will not survive, there is not going to be ASU, there is not going to be NASU, there is not going to be even the vice chancellor. So please, as we leave, let us all agree that there is need to do things in a new format. Everybody has a right. We cannot exhaust these rights enough. But as we have this right, let us take into consideration the peculiarity of our country. People say there are green, there are people moving around. Go and ask some of them. They will prefer to be in Nigeria rather than being in UK. Because they sometimes they don't have the liberty that we will have in Nigeria. It is better for us to be here than to be there. So let's make our home a very good one to live. Thank you all, and God bless you. On behalf of the, sorry, just to take a picture of the panelists. We have the professional and the unprofessional photographer, or now career photographer. So I want to thank all the panelists and the chair of the panel, Dr. Ni Olariwaju, and every other panelist from Federal Ministry of Health, Federal Ministry of Education, ASU, NUAB, NMA, and South. Thank you very much. I'm sure that the ASU president is not leaving since he has finished his presentation. I think they want to hear more of you. Maybe closing remarks. All right, so the very last session, this will have to merge and maybe just 30 minutes or so. Okay, so I want to invite the two chairpersons for this session. First, Olivia Neka Meadi. She's Vice Chairman or Chairperson of the Industrial Arbitration Panel. And then Professor Ifeanyi Monoro, Professor of Workplace Relations, University of Ibadan. So we are consolidating two sessions. One on institutional challenges associated with the regulation of compensation, issues in compensation management reform, management of compensation at different tiers, government and industry. Then we are looking at issues of employment transition and then social protection. I also want to invite the Deputy General Secretary of the Nigerian Labour Congress in the person of Ismail Bello, also part of this session. He's also one of the facilitators of this session, so I should have you here. So, participants in this panel include, do we have someone from the Nigerian Governors Forum representative? I thought the Director General was supposed to be there, fine. Algon. Somebody from Algon? No. Alright, what about representative of Norgate? We've had Nasima already, so then the DG Pencom. I know that they had someone here. Pencom. NSITF, I saw them in the morning. NSITF. Yes, NSITF. I know that their MD is supposed to be on the way. Nasima, are they here? They were here in the morning. Maybe we'll just join so that we can finish this session together. So this will take us about 30 minutes. So very short, small panel. National Union of Pensioners. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I imagine this will be a very short session. We have 3 chair sessions just to help us tease this. Comrade Ismail Bello, Barrister Miadi, and then Professor Onyonoro. So we just have 2 panelists. So it should take us, or 2 presenters actually. So we take very few opening statements and then we can consolidate.
The learned chairman of the National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to this last segment of a very crucial business. Our conversation has been centered on wages and compensation for the active worker. Now, our focus will shift to the transiting or retired workers, the terminal benefits for the pensioners. Whenever pensioners are mentioned, my mind goes to delayed benefits, pensions and gratuities, non-payment of same, inadequacy of the pension, that is the pension really a living pension? Case of missing files or pensioners or their details missing from databases. Furthermore, the discourse will also deal with institutional challenges associated with the regulation of compensation, issues in compensation management, reforms, management of compensation at different tiers of government and industry, and the Nigerian economy. To help find solutions to these dilemmas are this rich assemblage of stakeholders. Please, let's hear them out. Thank you.
Can we listen very quickly to Commonwealth, maybe after they presented? Can we quickly listen to NSIWC? Sir.
Good day, everyone. Please permit me to stand on the existing protocol already established. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ntelse Afabio, here representing the MD CEO of the Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund, NSIWC. I have a word from the MD and his thought around today's gathering. On behalf of the management and staff of the Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund, NSIWC, thank you all for the invitation to be here. Discussing this topic today, and the topic is income security and social protection in Nigeria, from coverage and access to adequacy and sustainability. This we cannot discuss outside the mandate of NSIWC. As you all know, the Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund is the premier social security institution in Nigeria. Having been established first in 1962 as a provident fund to take care of pension liabilities of workers in the private sector. In 1994, it was converted to a social security institution, but still with limited mandate over private sector only. It was only after the Pension Reform Act of 2004 that this mandate was expanded to provide full social security services. In December 2010, the Employees Social Compensation Act, ECA 2010, was signed into law, and the fund was mandated to provide for Nigerians a safety net for income security in the form of payment of adequate compensation for all employees or their dependents in the case of death, injury, diseases, or disability arising out of or in the course of employment. This is applicable in the public and the private sector, except for members of armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria not employed in a civilian capacity. To assess the provision of this act, that is the ECS Act of 2010, it is not cumbersome because the objective of NSIWC includes the implementation of guaranteed open and fair system that is simple and accessible with minimal delays. Hence, employees can access the scheme and make claims when the need arises through their employers who are registered with NSIWC and make the minimum contribution as prescribed by the law, that is a 1% contribution by the employers on behalf of their employees. This act, please note, prescribed employers from making deduction from the employees. So at the moment, NSITF has lived up to this act of making sure that adequate compensations are paid to employees who either suffer from work-related injury, diseases, or death. So what are we here for? The crux of the matter today is the adequacy and sustainability of income security. That is what we want to discuss. And I will dwell a little bit on this. According to ILO information, income security is above the level of income, the assurance of receipt of this income, the expectation of the income adequacy, now and the improvement of or the deterioration in the future, both during the person's working life and in old age or in disability retirement. We in NSITF have recorded tremendous progress on our amendment. Many employers and employees have sustainably benefited immensely and are still benefiting. It might not be adequate because there's always room to improve on any endeavor. But we are definitely not where we were before the enactment of the ILO Convention number 102. And this was on social security. In the same vein, ILO Convention number 26 and 131 on minimum wage fixing, which implementation covers the public and the private sector, is also ongoing. The ILO Convention of number 95 on protection of wages has also been enforced from 17th October 1960 till date. Thus, a positive value is given as the country ratified those conventions. These are conventions that give credence to what NSITF is doing vis-a-vis the employers and the employees. And don't forget, we are looking at sustainability and adequacy of income security. There are some other enactments that strengthened this behavior. The social security law and the funding. One, for you to guarantee everyone the right to social protection without exclusion, this is very important. If we must experience income security and sustainability, it is important that everyone is included. It is a leadership and followership responsibility where government was further entrenched into the Nigerian Constitution, the social security law that is justifiable with enforceable rights for citizens, adequate in their content and scope of application. In the light of the above, it is therefore a clarion call to policymakers in Nigeria to exhibit greater commitment to the quick implementation of rights to social security by enacting all-inclusive social security law and making appropriate and adequate budgetary provision to fund it. While the followership, which are the employers and the employee, should key in and leverage on the provision of this law. In closing, I want to reinstate that as government takes the above suggestive stance, let me quickly submit that the Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund now is more than ever ready to be used as the instrument of government in the execution and provision of income safety net for Nigerians. mandate of the fund is further being expanded to provide full-scale security protection to all Nigerians, especially workers, the unemployed, the socially excluded, and the vulnerable groups. As we deliberate to expand on our mandate, NSITF has built capacity to add other uncovered area of social security with which we are doing already, and those are all parts of effort geared towards making social protection accessible, adequate, and sustainable in Nigeria. Thank you all, and God bless everyone.
Please, can you go up and make a presentation? It's working there.
Maybe to just good afternoon once again. I thank our colleague from the NSITM. Very beautiful idea, and I recall that it was organized labor, NSIWC, who fought tooth and nail in 2010 when insurance companies were all over the place wanting to take advantage of the new law, the ECA, and which institution was going to manage it. And our defense for NSITF is not born out of love for NSITF. It's just born out of our interest to protect the welfare and the well-being of our members. Because we know that when you look at social insurance from the business point of view, definitely, ultimately, working people will be shortchanged. So we prefer an institution that will not be of the profit motive, expecting that huge number of people will benefit from such a scale. More so that the resources for this organization is coming from 1% of gross pay of all employees in Nigeria, which is over the time as we've been able to mobilize enormous resources. But can we really say we have been able to match the resource mobilization with adequate care for the workers? For me, given my background, and I also have some experience in the industry, and also has interface with the NSIT, at least I can see some gains in terms of benefit for dead workers and all of that. But a lot of challenges also when people get injured, how do they quickly process payment for people who are injured to ensure that they get adequate treatment in the hospital, and do they quickly also respond to the need of employers when they file their complaint. I think those are areas that we need to tidy up, and also to see how we utilize these resources that are being mobilized, not to spend them on recurrent and to spend them on other frivolous expenditure that is becoming common with public institutions, but to focus on the primary mandate of ensuring that workers get adequate benefit. The other thing to think about is also the large band of workers who are not covered within formal employment. What kind of protection are we thinking in that direction? And also the shift in employment towards platform tech employment, are they also captured? You have a way to capture this category of workers, and because a lot of workers, particularly platform workers, those delivering motorcycle, Uber drivers, a lot of them are safety risks. Are we at the level of NSITF giving it a thought? How do we take this scheme outside of the formal workplaces to ensure that all categories of workers get protection? Now, the other point to also note is that to underscore the importance of health and safety in the workplace, the ILO added health and safety as a fifth pillar of the decent work agenda. And what are these other four pillars? The fundamental principles about the right to collective bargaining, the right to freedom of association. Job creation is an important component. Social protection, which is part of the responsibility of NSIT. And of course, social dialogue, which is the entire thing that we are talking about. And in the wisdom of ILO, they think health and safety should be accorded privacy, important as an important pillar. For NSITF, I see a lot of responsibility in this direction. It will require more sensitization, it will require more education at the level of the different workplaces. First, to understand these issues and to be able to raise sufficient awareness in the world of work. The other point I would like to also raise is in terms of the linkage and the synergy between the NSITF and the Department of Occupational Health and Safety in the Ministry of Labour. Because one of the critical challenges in recent times is about inspection. In those early days, our workplaces, you find people from the Ministry of Labour checking and putting employers on their toes in terms of provisioning of the basic things. So, and more ministries complaining, we don't have sufficient manpower, these people are not well trained. What is NSITF doing in that direction? Because these things are an important component of what we do. The other thing also, that from an advantage position, there have been increasing cases of accident. I don't know whether the NSITF also covers workplaces that are also not within the union. In Ibadan, in Lagos, if you do a lot of review of reports in the media, you see a lot of young people who want, in the past, if you want a job, the first thing they do is to train you on the job before they deploy you to machines. But we don't know what is happening on late. You find a lot of people, they are employed 21, 22, and they deploy them to work on machines. In the end, most of them die. There was a pathetic case in Ibadan, several cases in Lagos, because media are active in that direction. So I think training is very important, inspection is very important, and the NSITF have enough resources to be able to connect with the Ministry of Labour, particularly the Health and Safety Department, to improve their visitation and to improve training at the level of the factory. And just a quick comment, is PENCOM here? Okay, maybe a quick comment on PENCOM. Again, another scheme that is also to address life after work, which is an important component of what we are talking about. Good idea, but the inflationary pressure is also eroding what people get at the end of the day. And there was a recent policy pronouncement about using part of what is in your RSA as a guarantee for housing. The 25% thing, I think is good idea, good policy, good way to go, but it can be improved in a manner that people can actually benefit. I just felt I can make that comment, particularly in respect to PENCOM. Once again, I thank you, and I hope that the NSITF will take a look at some of these points.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, sirs, and everybody. Well, I won't take your time because time is already spent. We just want to look at a particular issue for a private sector wages and compensation. And another one is regulatory. On the issue, we always have problems in the private sector with explaining to some of our people that when we say compensation, it is not all that is monetary. If you tell somebody, this PENCOM idea, it took us a lot of stress to convince employees that, look, you need to part with part of your money for the future. Your employer will contribute part, but you also need to contribute part. So they always see things as everything must be monetized, and everything must be in monetary terms. So that if the moment you are giving them another idea, like NSITF, the 1%, you tell them you are paying it's benefit to them. But they don't want to count all those as benefit as long as it is not monetary. That is one major issue that we have. Then on the regulatory aspect, in the private sector, there have been issues now with some of most people in the financial sector, the management, the severance package being paid to them is nobody knows what it is. And I'm sure if the SECMAN is there, maybe we also be part of this, because there was a time the corporate governance issue demand that they disclose the wages of top management team of most of these financial institutions. And of course, they protested, and the CBN came to their aid, and today it's removed from being disclosed. Ordinarily, the issue is that financial regulations demand that they disclose what they earn or what the surveillance package is, and in the financial statements. But you know what that will cost Nigeria, so CBN came to their aid and that was removed. But people within the private sector are complaining about this. So in terms of regulation, I'm urging us to also look at that in the private sector, because it may become an issue. We don't know what they think, and it's a huge amount of money. And when we talk of disparity in the public sector, I can also say that we have disparity too in the private sector. But the only thing is that we manage our own with collective bargaining. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Any question or contribution or suggestion from the audience? We know the problems, we've identified what we need now are solutions. Any solutions? Does somebody have anything to add?
Thank you very much. The issue of social protection and extending it to cover especially people in the informal sector. One of the ILO recommendations for transitioning informality to formality is this issue of social protection. The average person, when we talk of informal sector, somebody who does selling returns card, these people, 60% of Nigerian employment generation today are in the informal sector. People are able to live, not this salary we are earning. The megas who has a shop, who are living 1 or 2 couple. But what social protection are we giving him? Does he have access to health? Does he have access to occupational hazard? These are very great concern for a developing economy. So when we are talking of social protection, we must think of this chunk of people that are in the formal sector. The only way we can assist them to move to a form of formality and even organize them and regulate them and even tax them for the purpose of the economy is for government to extend some form of assistance to them. And social protection is one of those areas that are very timely. That's my contribution. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My contribution is about the issue of income security, though it is not explicitly stated, but I think one of the discussants was able to mention it as regards pension. That there is a problem is that, especially in the public sector, the workers retire and they don't pay their gratuity. And nobody speaks about that. We are talking of only the salary. We forget that after retirement, the private sector will pay gratuity. And there's nothing in the PECOM Act as amended that stop payment of gratuity. But you see, that is why many of the retirees from the public service, their problems begin the day they retire. Because there's nothing even to follow. Somebody worked for 35 years. The government will not deem it necessary to say thank you. Because gratuity is thank you for the service you render before you talk of pension. So we need to look at that. That is just my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Three questions or area of clarification I want the panelists to look at. The first one is the issue of the PENCOM. There are various saddening news that we are getting every day. That those of us in service who are contributing to PENCO, that it is our money that we are contributing there, the government is borrowing to pay us while we are still in service. Now, when we get out of service, where shall we fall back to? Then the second one is the issue of how much should PENCOM release to you while you are leaving service so that you can help yourself with. It's like they are pegging it at 25%. Now our land is now gradually being looked into maybe to 25%. I would have preferred that they should give retirees 75% of their contribution. Let them do something with it while they are still hale and happy. Why should you continue to press that and say, we will help you to prorata it to 10 years? Is it your business? No, just give them substantial amount. If 75% is given to them, let that remaining 25% now be prorated. That one will be more meaningful. So please look into that as a form of policy. Then two, for the private sector, we have always heard that the private owners will not want unions or their staff to unionize. And you say you want to give them the best. So if they do not unionize and they come to you to have a negotiating ability, then it seems that you are subjugating their rights and you are not also giving them a free and level playing ground to hear their views. Collective bargaining should be instituted in the private sector. Then lastly, the issue of casualization is very, very rampant in the private sector, and it's against the ILO provision. Why should you continue to casualize your people and they are not, contract staff like we find in the banks? Most of them will work like 15 years and they are just contract staff, and when they are going and leaving the system, they don't have anything to fall back at. They just go like that. You can just lock them out that day and they will not have any compensation or gratuity, so to speak. So I want you to react to this and maybe give us a light in that direction. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I first want to speak on the issue of social contribution, which Dr. Olaniwaju raised for the for the so-called informal sector. And on that issue, I think it's a good way to start. And I must commend most government agencies, because they have been trying also how to realize that in most cases they form the bulk of the lower sector, and they have been trying as much as possible to empower them. I'm not saying it is enough, but efforts are on that direction. But that is not only enough. We are now discussing with PENCOM to also see how micro pension, the one we call micro pension, could come for them. As I speak with you, by tomorrow, the arrangement is already concluded for training for some of them, so that NPC, that's Pension Commission, will come and give them training and let them know the benefits of micro pension. It's ongoing, and I'm sure we will not just leave them or abandon them, because we know the responsibility as a Chamber of Commerce that we carry on for them. And so we are making effort to ensure that they are empowered. The empowerment is not enough. Even some foreign agencies also come for empowerment, and that is why we see them growing. They are growing actually, and the number too is becoming interesting, and it's good for the economy that we have at least a place where people can run to say they are doing one or two things. Then on the issue of the pension, maybe PENCOM is not here, but I want to say one thing on the issue raised by my gentleman there, that maybe the money being collected from serving officers now as pension contribution is what government is borrowing to do some one or two things, and I know very well that that is possible and that is true, but the way it is done is such that it is done in form of a kind of financing. such that government is borrowing with interest. And that's why they too depend on too, because the law allows them to invest. And when they invest, when they see good investment, because what the money is in trillions, they cannot just keep it just idle. So when they invest, and government assess from that investment, you can sure it is something that will come back. So it's not something that will not be done, or that will tell you stories when you are about to collect your pension and say the government has borrowed the money, they have not paid. No, it will not happen like that. Even we have instances like that in the private sector. We have had cases where cooperative societies, honestly, cooperative societies bail out companies when companies get to critical stages and they know that they have staff cooperative societies that are very, very efficient. They go there to borrow money. And of course, such money are paid back, and they are paid back with some little interest. So I'm not speaking for Penicom, but I'm just saying what I know. And then on the issue of what is given to the retiree, I can also say that it depends on, they have a scheme, they have two kind of scheme. One, the one you say what you want to do now, because they program this thing on your age, and they call it, I've forgotten what they use for it. Annuity, thank you sir, annuity. So they program it on, maybe you retire at 60 and you are good looking and you tendencies that may be up to 80. Why not let us give you something small? Because when you retire, sincerely, those of us in business, we know, it's not easy to say, give me 70%, I will go and start business. You that you have been in the public sector for many years, you take 70% of your own entitlement and you put it in business. And because you are not used to it, the whole thing does well. I mean, please, I don't know, but it may be something that you want, but I will just say, let us be cautious here, so that we don't just look at it as it is that easy. If I get 70%, I can invest in a Greek, or I can invest in one thing or the other. It may not be that easy. But they have a scheme that if you want to take 50%, you can take. Then the rest 50% will now be analyzed, and then you determine what you will get monthly, and they will be paying you. For us in the private sector, sincerely, we have no issue with that. And our retirees, initially they resisted because of what happened during the time of NSIWC and the rest. But later, when they see that this is working fine, they are now cooperating, and those that are retired are getting their entitlement as at when due. Although it will not be the way they want it, but because of age, they are managing it. Let me put it that way. Then on unionism in private companies that we also raised. Well, what we have done, we have allowed agencies, MBOs like Manufacturing Association of Nigeria, to now say, look, we know what is going on. We can negotiate on behalf of people in the manufacturing industry. Instead of saying, oh, company, you have your own union. Company B, you have this, company C. And when they do collective discussions, they go across the board to ensure that all are carried along. The same thing with agencies like maybe Kwasima and Asima. The only issue we have is NASMI, that's the one for small and medium enterprise that is just coming up. But I'm sure they will also get to a point where they can talk effectively and efficiently on behalf of their members. So far, their casualization, well, we know it is not good, we don't support it. As Chamber of Commerce, we do not support it. But sincerely, and we are coming to talking reality now, what we have on ground is such that it may not be called casualization, but when you engage somebody and you say, look, you are not giving me what I expect in terms of productivity, and you immediately ask him to go without giving the cost to anything, it's as good as you are treating him as a casual staff. Because normally, if you engage him properly, there should be ways to give him query. After query, he answers and let you know what the problem is. But if you don't do that, you just come to work the following day and say, Mr. Man, go home, your work is finished. What of my time? If you go, I won't give you because you have not done my work. It's as good as treating such person as a casual person. And that issue we still have it. I'm not going to deny, we still have it. But gradually we get to where we are talking to employers. And when we meet at our meetings, we let them know that it's against the law. and that gradually they should absorb people, give them formal letter of employment so that there be a contract. And once there's a contract, you know you cannot just deal with such anyhow. And we are working on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sorry, I just want to make some additional, especially as regards the informal sector. In NSIWC, it's one of our mandates to ensure that the informal sector is also captured. We have done a whole lot with the organized private and public sector, but the informal sector is on course. For the first time in the history of NSIWC, we have taken bold steps to ensure that we also bring on board the informal sector. Now, while the PENCOM takes care of pension when you retire, our own duty is to take care of you while you're still in service. And when we talk about compensation, there's no amount of compensation that anybody can pay for loss of life, for permanent disability, for injury, for diseases, and all of that. So our mandate is beyond just paying compensation, but to make sure that you are safe, you are healthy, you have the strength to do your job. So for us, the informal sector is the next big step we are going to take to make sure that we provide safety, also organize them in such a way that we'll be able to reach out to them and make sure that the benefit the organized private and public sector get from us is also extended to them. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I think in that journey, you have a ready partner in organized labor. Because in truth, many of these informal sector unions, associations, are already one way or the other affiliated to several of our trade unions. The platform worker who spoke a short while ago, unfortunately I was not in the hall then. We've done a lot of work together with them, training, building capacity, and getting them familiar with union organization as we struggle for them to be registered formally as a trade union. We are not leaving them, we are carrying them along. And so, tailors, for instance, the textile workers union organize them. The tanker drivers, the other NUPEN. So, several of those informal organizations you will find with trade unions. So you can have some kind of very good collaboration if you really want to extend services to informal sector. The other one, when we talk about organizing the union, people don't seem to understand the importance of a union in a workplace. We see union only in terms of agitation for pay. But I tell you, my experience with industrial accident is that, and I have about 3, 4, 5 cases that I can mention, where young workers died, 21-year-old, 25-year-old, 22-year-old, some lost their hand, young workers. There are places that are without a union. Because when you have a union, the union will ensure that at least workplace governance is fair to the working people. Agitation for health and safety issues, working conditions, they are part of our daily activity. Grievance processes beyond agitation for wages. So it's very important. And that will lead me to the notion of casualization. I am proud to say that the NSC, in conjunction with NOBIFI and ASBIFI, I was party to that program, borrowing from what happened in the oil and gas sector. Because oil and gas sector was actually the first pioneer of flexible work, casual outsourced contract. That's where the experimentation actually happened in Nigeria, oil and gas. So, because they also have a strong union, they were able to agitate and get government to modify its rule and come out with a labor guideline, because policy guideline. So we borrow from that policy guideline in the oil and gas sector and work out a similar pattern for the banking industry, because apparently 70% of the workforce in the banking industry, they are not regular staff, if not 75. Just between 20 and 25 are regular staff of the banks. And so you find young men and women working 12 hours, earning 50,000, earning 70,000, 2-3 years of work, they are dispensed like a tin of milk that has been used. So, but with this guideline, first they will have union, they have opportunity for representation, they have opportunity for review of condition from time to time. So I think for us as unions to continue to think about how to work around the changing dynamics in the world of work. In a neoliberal environment, employers seem to have dominant power. But where we can match is to continue to look for every opportunity. Because if we are a union in the banking industry, and 25% of your workers are under the union, 75 are outside of the union, that union is powerless. That's the truth. But to get the union to be powerful, you will need all the workers in that sector. So I think with this policy guideline and the opportunity for the union to take the issues and the concerns of this category on board, then the union is a win-win both for the union and for the management.
I have a question for the representative of NSIWC. You said while making your presentation that you provide security for both workers and the unemployed. And my question is, who makes the contribution for the unemployed? Or didn't I hear right? I think I did.
Okay, the unemployed. When we say unemployed, we looking at the informal, so to speak. Yeah, we look at, yeah, you can have an independent person, self-employed. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, just before we end the session, it's unfortunate PENCOM is not here, but I think you spoke for PENCOM. Yeah, I think I have some idea about what we are saying, and I think you were all right in terms of the direction of your intervention. From some researches, carried out in the university, we realized that workers, particularly in the state, state government workers, as distinct from the federal workers, a lot of them are not into the contributory pension scheme. And because of the woeful performance of, the non-contributory scheme, a lot of them want to be part of the contributory scheme, but it's a state government thing. I think that quickly the unions may have to see what they can do about that. Relatively, between the pre-2004 scheme and this one, it seems from research that workers find the contributory pension scheme more reliable, and they want to be part of it, but they are not there. That's the first, issue I want to raise. Who the unions will help in doing that? The second thing is that the PENCOM has been into a lot of dynamic policy, issues, but awareness is very low. Even within the framework of those who are enrolled, who subscribe to the, CPS, they don't know much about it from research. In fact, a particular research we carried out, between 43 and 52% kept saying, I don't know. Regarding what's supposed to be their rights, what's supposed to be their entitlement, but they look at it generally from the overall that relative to the previous one, they'll prefer this one. Yeah, they don't know much about, the provisions. Then, coupled with that is, the issue of some modifications that are being made, some new policies, like somebody mentioned, the 25%, provisioning and all that. The awareness is not there. So we need to, unlike before, when somebody's retiring, you have some prediction about what you're going to get, how it's going to take you through, and all that. It is still a hazy environment. So I think there's a need for a lot of awareness, so.
Yeah, just a quick comment on that. It is correct that many of the states are not subscribing to the PENCOM arrangement. Lagos and Jigawa represents a model in terms of, because it's a national law, so they need to domesticate it at the level of the state. Several of the states, I can't remember what the statistics are, have done the domestication, but some have not been able to move into full implementation. And there are states that are already, I can remember Jigawa, I can remember Lagos, they've domesticated, they've set up the relevant agencies, and they are implementing fully. I think cannot do to some degree, but the bulk of the states are yet to domesticate it. Then in terms of the awareness between the members, it also depends on the unions. The unions needs to be the one to agitate and push for their respective members to have interface with their PFs, all of them. If they have create forum like this to get updates, get PENCOM. When I was in Testa, we used to do that a lot. And one of the recent policy shifts, like Prof said, which is of significance to workers. I think workers who contribute less than 10 million or something, I think there's a policy position. I'm not sure what the figure is now, that they can take the entire contribution. Yes. Because it is such that it makes no sense to have an annuity of 1,000 naira or annuity of 2,000 naira. So I think, but we need this constant engagement, because the law itself also needs review. When it was first promulgated in 2004, there was a review in 2014. It was a review in 2014 that provided for the informal sector leeway, and also the review of this, I think 25% to 50%. So we are almost getting to another 10 years. Maybe stakeholders should begin to articulate and look at possible areas that we would like to see change in the Pension Reform Act, and then and be able to push them.
Well, it's been a very stimulating time. On behalf of my co-chair, Pastor Mali, who has granted me the permission to make the closing remarks, and on behalf of the presenters on the table here, and every one of us sitting down there who participated either actively or passively, I'd like to thank you so much for being part of this session. And I believe that whatever we've discussed here would be properly packaged for policy, not just for policy, for implementation. May I once again thank you. God bless. Photograph. So much as we try to, and I want to assure you that there's nothing else that is punishing. Every good thing, they say everything that has a beginning has an end, and a good beginning and a good end. It looks to me like gradual by gradual, slow and steady, we have come to the end of this two-day National Policy Forum on Compensation in Nigeria. It looks to me like people are still expecting ASU President to speak. But I think the next time you'll be hearing from him will be on television, so not here. Okay? And hopefully we'll be speaking a little bit more with a satisfying tone. We have to round up here. We ought to listen to our team of rapporteurs who would give us like a communique where I sense that people are really tired and they need to round up. So since we have your emails, probably we can do an exchange and engagement through email, and that should do. Do we have a consensus that that's how we should approach it? Do yay or nay? What is it? All right, so I think the yay have it. All right, so the next step is to close this session, and I want to invite the Honorable National Commissioner for Compensation. Just give a word and then we'll round off, and I give you an announcement for the logistics. Do you want a microphone? Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. It's been a very, very educative time for all of us. Let me use this time on behalf of my chairman. I will use the word they've been using, Mr. Ekpo Nta Esquire, and the DG of Michael Imodu, and all of us in NSIWC and myself, Dr. Muji Ayakolade, to say a big thank you for all the organizations that are here. It's been very, very informative, robust conversation, and thank you for your time. I believe at the end of this discussion, a lot of valuable points will come out of it, and I pray that it will benefit all of us. Thank you for your time. Thank you for all you have done. God bless you. Safe travels home. We appreciate you. That next time we call you, you come back. God bless you all. Thank you.
Just not to embarrass anyone, so this is logistic for food. We're having food in the main dining, and that is close to the pool. I want to request, not that we are shutting anybody out, I want to request that there's a segment there for resource people and then panelists. Okay, but importantly for everyone, we want to see your tag. You know, this has become this is our story because of security arrangements. Let me put it like that. That covers for everything in Nigeria. So because of security arrangements, we want to see your tags. You know, when we go for food. So those with the tags will take their meals first, and then others will come after. We're not excluding anybody, just for a bit of order. Thank you.